You might remember a discount airline called NewLeaf roaring onto the Canadian travel scene just 2 weeks ago, promising to revolutionize the industry with the kinds of low prices a lot of Canadians have only dreamed about. Customer interest was strong, booking rates were high, but today the news that the airline is grounded, at least temporarily, while transportation officials review the company's licensing. Susanna is back to explain what's going on here. Susanna.
Yeah, well, their CEO was not happy to have to give this news. Obviously, today, of course, they were supposed to come into the market offering those really low-cost fares, part of that by flying between smaller airports, but also by leasing their planes from another airline. Now, that seems to be what the problem is. They say thought they did not need a license, were told they did not need a license by the Canadian Transportation Authority because they were leasing planes from an airline that already had a license. But when they came out, provided their press release and their news conference just about a week ago, announcing all that was going on, it was that issue that then provoked complaints from other airlines as well as consumer advocates. Now the Canadian Transportation Authority says they are reviewing their license. In a statement today, they said, as business models in the airline industry are rapidly evolving, the agency is currently reviewing whether companies who bulk purchase all seats on planes and then resell those seats to the public do not operate any aircraft, such as NewLeaf, should be required to hold a license. Now, their CEO says they had reviewed all the policies, all the legislation that is in place. They felt they were complying with all of those things. And he had some harsh words today saying that he'd like to see some leadership from the Canadian Transportation Agency and also in some ways comparing themselves to Uber.
But you got to understand there's a lot of naysayers and people out there and what I'd like to call the status quo who don't necessarily want to see us in business. That could be competitors, but it could also just be hangers-on and other people in this business that just don't like change. So until such time as we get some leadership from the Canadian Transportation Agency, whom we are working with on clarifying the role of indirect air service providers, we felt it was important that our customers be protected.
And some of those customers have already bought tickets, so what happens to those purchases?
Well, they are promising that within 72 hours, everyone will have their money back, that they wanted to give customers, because they're now in this ambiguous time, not sure what this review is going to say, they wanted to give their customers as much time as possible to rebook or change their plans. They weren't supposed to take off for another 28 days, so they want to give them lots of lead-up time. He would only say that they've had thousands upon thousands of bookings. They wouldn't say exactly how much. He said he didn't want to give that information to his competitors, but that the bookings were very strong in February and very strong for spring break. Good considering they've only been out there for about a week or so, and he hopes that customers will stick around if they do get off the ground eventually, and that this shows their customers they are who they're thinking about, and that's why they gave them as much lead time to decide just to cancel everything while the questions are still being asked.
Thanks, Susanna.
Thank you.